Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of what if Deku shared his secret history with A. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. There are days where A feels like she is the loneliest person in the world. She knows it's not true, Papa and Dad and Toshini are there, but why is Eri always the one that is crying? Surely the reason that makes the most sense, says her 7-year-old logic, is that Eri is the only sad person, and the rest of her family isn't. Look at Papa, for example. His happy and cheerful self always matches with his bright, sunshine-colored hair. Those were the thoughts running through Eri's head as she entered the 1A dorms at 4 a.m., teary-eyed and panting from running. She feels bad for running away from Dad and Papa when they were actually just trying to calm her down from a nightmare. Eri knows she should have said thank you. Still, she doesn't feel like saying it right away, not after telling them to shut up, because they don't know anything about being sad when all her Papa said were simply soothing murmurs of "Sure, it's okay, sweetie, you can cry. It's okay to be sad." This was also why she doesn't immediately go to Toshini's room and knock at his door. She has just snapped at her parents and ran away from the UA teachers' dorms, so she just doesn't want to face the problem right now and feels too guilty to see her parents. If she goes to Toshini now, he's only going to tell Dad, and that's definitely a no-go for Eri right now. Who's Eri? A voice cuts through Eri's train of thought. It's Deku, her favorite hero who held her as she was saved from the bad place. Lemillion was there, and she likes him too. But don't tell anyone that Deku is still her #1 favorite, even compared to Dad and Papa. At any other times, meeting her hero idol crush would be an exciting and fun thing, but all Eri can think about is the panic and things that will happen once Deku tells Dad and everybody else that she is here. Thankfully, her green-haired hero knows very well the dread of being found out in the middle of the night panicking, let alone being found out by a whole class of chaotic adolescents who will throw a massive racket before returning you to your father, who is their homeroom teacher. So, Izuku decides that the best course of action is to make sure she doesn't go into a panic attack alone in the dorm's common room at such an ungodly hour. Eh? Hey, breathe. Izuku hovered near the panicking child. You're okay, I'm the only one awake right now, okay? Nobody else is here. Thankfully, Izuku's words were exactly what Eri needs to calm down. Moments like these are reasons why Izuku is sometimes thankful for his childhood. Well, circumstances. Deku should be fine, Eri thinks. He's really nice after all. Do you need Shinsukuin or Aizawa-sensei? Izuku continued, only to notice the panic rising back to the girl's ruby-colored eyes, and she furiously shook her head. Izuku, you idiot, Izuku thought, mentally smacking himself to a wall. There's a reason why she's not looking for Aizawa-sensei or Yamada-sensei in the first place. Oh okay, it's okay, Izuku blurted out in a panic. How about my room, then? We can do some coloring or writing. But Dad and Papa will. Eri would really like that. She loves coloring. Also, she gets to color with Deku, her favorite hero. But Dad and Papa would definitely look for her and want her back. Eri's logic makes perfect sense to Izuku too, but he could work around it as long as the text he receives back from his homeroom teacher gives Izuku the affirmative. After glancing at an OK in his message notification from Aizawa-sensei, he continues to reassure Eri. I've sent them a text, he told her, and immediately continues when Eri tenses at his response. Aizawa-sensei says it's okay to let you stay. Can I carry you back to my dorm room? I have a couple toys I think you'd like. A nod from Eri, a tight hug, and Deku's comforting hands running through her hair was simply what's needed for Eri to break down into little sniffles in her hero's embrace as the two left from the dorm's common room. Deku is weird and different from Papa, Toshini, or even Dad. When Eri cries, people usually say things like it's okay or I'm here, but Deku just stayed quiet the whole time she cried, soft caresses and a warm hug present during the whole time. It's not that the way her family takes care of her or Deku's way is bad, it's just different. Even now, in Deku's room, the green-haired student has only been silent as he gave Eri a pair of plushes. It looked like Dad and Papa in their hero costumes. By the way, and rummaged his shelf for a set of paper and art supplies. He still hasn't talked or asked Eri anything. On the other hand, Izuku knows very well how overwhelming it can feel when people try to comfort him. His mom was always kinda pushy whenever he starts to cry anyway. Eri doesn't need know this, obviously. You're not talking or asking me anything. Eri started, sounding more like a statement rather than a question. The blatant confusion in her voice did make Izuku can't help but chuckle. Should I? I don't know. Izuku had to hold back his desire to coo and ruffle Eri's hair at how adorable the little girl is. Instead, he continues laying out a sheet of A4 paper and placed a couple sets of coloring pencils on a small table near his bed. It's okay to not be sure, Eri. He told her, let's just draw some things, okay? Another nod. Hugging the custom Eraser MIC couple plushie, made by yours truly because Izuku ships his teachers very much and can't find merch for underground heroes, Eri began to take a couple colored pencils and draws as Izuku flips open his hero analysis notebooks. It stayed this way, a peaceful silence accompanied by the sound of pencil scratching paper, until Eri quietly broke the silence with a question. Am I the only one that cries a lot, Deku? The latter blinks, processing the question. No, many people cry too. But I never see anybody but me cry. Well, there are always times when you just want to keep sad things to yourself, I think. But Hound Dog Sensei said it's bad to hide sad stuff. Izuku thought. That's good. He has been wondering whether Eri had access to therapy or not, which he wished he did at her age, but oh well, what's done is done, isn't it? Well, people know you're sad, but you don't have to tell them why you're sad. So, you're not hiding it, right? Oh. You know, when people ask you stuff when you're sad, you can promise to answer them next time when you're not as sad. They will understand, especially Aizawa-sensei. Izuku won't lie that he panicked a little when Eri stops drawing, drops her black-colored pencil, and stared at him as she somberly cried to him. But, people like Papa and Dad say they felt sad before, but they look so happy. And then there's me. Eri looks down before staring back to Izuku's eyes again. I am sad and I look sad, I cry a lot, see? If they were sad, why I never see them sad, Deku? For a 7-year-old, Izuku's mind supplies, that sounds pretty logical. I mean, if you're the only person crying and breaking down while everyone just doesn't, it makes it seem like you're the only sad and helpless person, doesn't it? However, it didn't stop his panic alarms from screaming at his head because oh shit, at her age he stopped trusting adults completely, but Aizawa-sensei is, like, the most trustable person ever, and losing trust in people who actually, genuinely care is worse than losing faith in people in general. I know it's not the best time for this sheet, but I need to make sure Eri knows and understands this completely. You do know Aizawa-sensei really cares about you, right? Him and Yamada-sensei. They both want the best things for you, and you should trust them, okay? I know that. I do, I really do. Eri's eyebrows furrowed, still not understanding the flaw behind her logic, but it doesn't. I don't know, Deku. It still doesn't make sense to her, Izuku guessed. After a couple minutes of thinking, an idea popped up in the older boy's head. What if I tell you a story, And maybe you might understand? Maybe a story of someone she can relate to would help? There is a sad boy who thinks he's worthless. Izuku started with a mind slightly drifting off to the past. What? Eri simply reacted with a gasp. At least the hook was interesting enough to her, Izuku thought. But nobody is worthless, Deku. That's just how could why? Well, you see, he has. No powers. Yeah, no powers. Izuku winced when he noticed the pure confusion throughout Eri's face as she stopped drawing and tries to make sense of what he's saying. He feels like smacking his head to a wall for his idiocy again. Am I actually doing this? He asked himself, and a small voice from his inner Kaken-influenced side simply replied with we're doing this. After all, who cares about personal trauma when it comes to making a 7-year-old sunshine incarnate feel better? Like quirks. He blurted out, and then reaffirms himself. Yeah, the boy is quirkless, Eri. Quirk. Quirkless? Eri echoed questioningly, trying to imitate the word that felt very foreign to her lips. Yeah, it means he has no quirks. Do you understand what that means? He asked, hoping to get his point across as he tries hard to ground himself from the flashbacks caused by the word alone. Thankfully, Eri seems to nod in understanding and deep in thought. I never met a quirkless person before, she admitted before continuing, at least I don't remember. That's normal, eh? I didn't think you would. He reassures her. You've met many people in UA, but none of them are quirkless, right? Emichim. Well, the boy has probably met less people. At your age, at least. Oh. Izuku's mind drifted long enough to not notice the gears running through the younger girl's head. Don't underestimate a 7-year-old, traumatized child's ability to form conclusions. He forced himself back to focus. The purpose of this story is to have someone to empathize and relate to, Izuku admonished himself, not telling a child about your sob story when she is traumatized enough. If he never sees another quirkless person, how do you think he would feel, Eri? Izuku has 2 goals: try his best to relate the story to Eri's current circumstance, and distract her from her recent problems by thinking that is what worked for him, after all. I think he would feel like the only weird person, she answered deep in thought, and that's very bad, Deku. Smiling, Deku patted her head as he continues. That's very smart of you to realize, Eri. Now, why is it bad? He is like me, Deku. I also feel like a weird person sometimes, she paused. Something flickered in her eyes, and she raised her voice slightly in panic. Dad told me that some people are mean to weird, different people. Are people mean to the quirkless boy? This time, Deku couldn't hold back his wince. Again, that's very good thinking, eh? He looks away from the child for a moment, eyes glazed as he stared at seemingly nothing while muttering loud enough for Eri to hear. You could say that everyone seems to be mean. Oh no! Eri gasped as Izuku snaps back to reality when he notices Eri getting worked up once again. We have to help him, Deku! She exclaimed. Her soft voice is laced with a panicked urgency that startled the storyteller. Yeah? Not now, like, now, okay? But how about I tell you more about him? Izuku suggested hurriedly. I promise he is okay? Actually, he's telling you the story right now, his mind supplied with a chuckle. But his answer seems to calm the younger child down enough. Okay. Only because you say so, Deku. You made sure he is not lonely, right? Like what Papa, Dad, and Toshini always do with me. Because I know he feels lonely, you know. The genuine concern and care in Eri's voice tug at Izuku's flood-prone tear glands. There's something unique about children's ability to purely empathize and care when it comes to shared trauma. Izuku may not remember feeling those feelings when he was Eri's age. He was too scared to know anyone anyway, but it kind of reminds Izuku of his own desire to be friends with Shinsu Hitoshi, which is not going as smooth, but Izuku is used to the idea of people initially disliking him anyway. Too busy focusing on not crying, he breathed out a melancholic yeah, I guess, before mentally slapping himself to focus on Eri. Oh, he feels sad like you too, Eri. Like me? Yeah, he cries a lot. He paused, chuckling at himself again. Like, a lot. Really? The disbelief is evident in her voice. Izuku can practically hear the I'm not the only one implied from her astonished tone. Really? He echoed. At your age, I think. Every day? He cried almost every day, I think. Maybe less during weekends? He tries to remember before pushing away his thoughts which are irrelevant at the moment. On the other hand, Eri has kind of put 2 and 2 together. Wait. If everybody is mean, who does he go to when he's sad? Does he go to you, Deku? Like me? Here, I guess he goes to me when he's sad. Izuku paused due to how weird his answer sounded to him before continuing, a hand covering half of his mouth as he leans down in an exaggerated secretive gesture. Do you want to know a secret, Eri? The way Eri's eyes sparkle and her nod as she cups her ear and leans to reply his gesture is a sight that will forever be burned into Izuku's mind. He smiled before answering the rhetorical question in a fake whisper. He can't look sad even when he's sad, he says and continues when she didn't respond. Everybody seems to be mean to him, remember? He leans back, carefully watching the change from Eri's expression, and crosses his fingers as he hopes he didn't mess up and makes things even worse than they already are. Hound Dog Sensei says hiding sad stuff is bad. Eri murmured. All right, Deku, Izuku thought to himself, who once again forgot the existence of therapy. I might literally smack myself once Eri is gone. It is, he trailed off. Right, therapy sessions. They exist. Izuku reminds himself that thank God A got the privilege he will never get, until now, at such a young age. It's always good to start early. His thoughts were cut off abruptly when he felt Eri shaking him in panic and mild hysteria. It's bad, Deku. We have to go and help him now. EA. Hiding sad stuff is bad. It hurts. And people cannot help him if he hides it. Well, no one's ever cared, he wanted to instinctively reply but is cut off again by a panicked gasp from the restless child. And no one would help him because they are mean. She cried urgent. Do we have to go now and help him? Hiding sad feelings hurts a lot, Deku. I know it hurts, I really do know, and it will keep hurting if we don't go now. And Dash. It's okay, Dash. He tries to soothe her, but Eri seems stubborn and adamant. It's not. Hound Dog Sensei said Dash. He doesn't hide it from me, okay? He tries to recover in a panic. Okay, looking at the slight change in Eri's demeanor, Izuku is kind of fixing it. He feels slightly guilty at twisting the truth this way, but I'm not technically lying, he thought as a hand soothingly traces through Eri's hair trying to calm the panicked child. I promise you I am helping him, okay? He continues, noticing how tension ebbs away from the little girl's body. I know him and how he's doing. I can tell you if he looks for you. He paused and then added, remember how he thinks everyone is mean? Maybe he's not sure about people helping him suddenly. Oh, right, Eri solemnly nods, he must think that I'm mean too. You? Oh, I don't think he thinks you're mean. He probably thinks you're a very nice person. But he thinks everyone is mean, remember Deku? Midoriya Izuku, he thought to himself, king of blatant contradictions during storytime with Eri herself. Maybe not if. You tell him? I can talk to him? Yeah, nope, wrong idea. Salvage the situation again. You can. Write to him. Oh, but I'm still learning how to write letters, you see. Well, how about cards, eh? They have less words than a letter after all. You're right. Let me use a new piece of paper now. I'm gonna make a hello, I wanna be your friend card. Good idea, eh? Izuku smiled awkwardly, here, more paper. And you'll give the card to him, right Deku? Why yeah. Of course. I'll make sure he keeps it. So, that is how they spent the next couple of minutes in blissful silence. One of Eri's hands holding a colored pencil on top of her soon-to-be-delivered card, and another wrapped around Izuku's custom lynnvermi plushie. When she finished, Eri broke the silence. Deku. Yes, Eri? I want to make a card for Papa. And Dad. Sure, there's more paper there, right? Yeah, but I don't know if it should be a sorry or a thank you card. Why not both? A sorry for, today, and a thank you for being your parents. No, Deku. A sorry for thinking that sad people always look sad. And a thank you for not being mean and making me hide sad stuff. Make 1. Hitoshi no longer sneers at Midoriya whenever his green-haired classmate approached him. Still, he had to suppress the urge to growl at Midoriya when the greenhead knocked on his door at 5 a.m. in the morning with Eri, who Hitoshi feels very protective of, on Izuku's arms. She's fast asleep and is hugging what seems to be a present MIC plushie and a piece of paper. Izuku made sure Aizawa-sensei's plush stays at his own dorm. You can't be sure about the consequences of making underground hero merch. Hitoshi still doesn't understand why a person with a quirk so suited for heroics is so pushy with him, so he immediately motions Midoriya to hand over his sister and slams his door shut, not loud enough to wake Eri, of course, to Midoriya's face, not ready to handle him at such an early hour. Oh, Hitoshi might have threatened Midoriya to not use Eri as a way to go buddy-buddy with my sister to get close to me. The greenhead should really just shut up and let the siblings sleep. 2. Problem child. Yes, Aizawa-sensei. Eri came to us crying and gave us a card about how she's thankful and sorry for, and may I quote, being not mean so I don't have to hide being sad. About that. Yeah, haha. I didn't mean to, I let her use some paper and things. Thanks, kid. Hey. She didn't disturb you, didn't she? No. I was already awake, and she can always go to me if something similar happens. Not that she has to Okay, I'll tell her. Wait, what dash? Eri can stay with you if something similar happens. Izuku couldn't say anything else as his homeroom teacher walks away, to tell Eri, probably, and leaving him dumbfounded. 3. Izuku couldn't remember what the nightmare was anymore, but it was enough to make him stifle a sob that bubbled up his throat. Assessing his surroundings, he laid his eyes on a piece of folded A4 paper on his study table. To the quirkless boy it read in round, childish letters. However, the word quirkless was crossed out and brave was written under it. Beneath the writing is a drawing of Eri, the Eraser MIC couple, and him in his Deku costume. Izuku hopes Eri wouldn't mind the tear stains and the slight creases on her masterpiece. It did reach the quirkless boy, after all. Hello, I'm Eri. Deku told me about you and I wanna be your friend. I promise I'm not mean, so you don't have to hide being sad anymore. From now, I will be your hero, too. The second story was told the day after a massive argument between Eri and Kuta on Sunday. It was never this bad. Izuku heard MIC talking to Mandalay as the white-haired child stomps away and refuses to articulate any of her words for the rest of the day. In her tantrum, she would not speak nor sign, responding with mere head shakes and nods. Aizawa Shouter didn't know whether he should be grateful or surprised at what his daughter said when she finally talks to him during Monday's lunch break. Dad, can I play and have ice cream with Deku after school? She pauses and adds a small pretty please. Maybe both grateful and surprised, Aizawa concluded. Shouter isn't soft, DMN it. But who is he to deny his beloved daughter's request when she finally decides to communicate again? Aizawa will exempt his problem child from schoolwork if it's really needed. Problem child. Whyas, sensei. You're taking care of Eri after school today. Is that a question? Because, no, there were no such plans. No, you are taking care of Eri after school today. You have my number, and I have yours. I'll contact you to pick her up. WOWH-. Here's money. Get some ice cream. W8, this is Dash. Your deadlines are postponed, Shouter. Walks away as he added, 2 extra days. True to his word, Eri is already waiting for Izuku outside of his class right as the last bell rang. The girl crossed her arms furiously when Yamada-sensei offered to accompany the two, waved her papa a pouty goodbye, and lightly tugged her favorite hero person in general in the direction of the ice cream parlor. Our baby is too young to have a date. Zashi. We're in the office, not a poetry jam. The baby's first date. Hizashi dramatically wailed, with her idol crush, your problem child, Shouter simply ignored his husband's dramatic cries of how we're too young to give the shovel talk, There was no more trace of Eri's temper tantrums when Izuku lightly pushed her in the playground swings or when she giggled as he piggybacked her up the climbing equipment. When they sat down at the ice cream parlor, the sulky girl has reverted back to her sunshine-bright, adorable self. Izuku guessed the unicorn delight flavor did its job of wiping Eri's pout off her face. The two simply ate their respective dessert with occasional comments about the playground or the ice cream that they're eating. Constant chatting and talking is not really their style anyways. Yamada-sensei did tell him the gist of what's going on, so Izuku kind of knew the hangout's purpose. Izuku wouldn't rush Eri, though he simply listened and replied to Eri's statements with a patient affirmation as they come by. Kutakuen hates me now, Eri said once they went out of the ice cream parlor and back to the swing sets, breaking the silence. Oh, was all Izuku can reply, with hoping he is not pressuring her to speak more or less than what the girl is currently comfortable with. At first, I thought Kutakuen is the one that was mean, she continued, but now I think I was mean too. To Eri, talking to Deku is always very different than her talks with other people. Many people listen and comfort her when she tells them things, not that Deku doesn't. Something about the way Deku replies to what Eri says makes her think and organize the thoughts in her messy head. Oh no. Do you have plans on what you're going to do about this? The elder boy probed softly as his eyes stared deep into Eri's eyes, a silent message that is here, he will listen, and he wants to help. When Eri talks to Deku, she doesn't only receive comfort and assurance. She gets to think of solutions and plans. It's like puzzles to her, and she loves puzzles. Most people will guide her hands to pieces and tell her which part goes to which and why, but Deku simply asks questions that make her try and figure out the whole puzzle herself. When Deku gives hints, he simply gives a single clue and doesn't try to solve the entire puzzle immediately for her. Sometimes, finding answers yourself feels better than being told what to do. I don't know. Eri trailed off, sniffling as tears began to well up in her eyes. I wanna say sorry. That's a very good idea, Eri, Izuku replies reassuringly. But it's not going to work, she sniffled a reply with a tone of regret. I took too long to say sorry, so Kutakuen definitely hates me now. Oh, Eri. Izuku breathes out in concern before he asks, can I give you a hug? A soft yes, please from the teary-eyed girl was all it takes for Izuku to move closer and wrap his arms around her as he rubs soothing circles into the sobbing child's back. After approximately 3-ish minutes, Eri's sobs have calmed down into small sniffles and hiccups. The poor child was probably too caught up in her tantrum to process her own sadness until this moment. While Eri quietly drank from her present MIC-themed water bottle, Izuku broke the silence this time. You know, Eri, the quirkless boy had this really big fight with one of his best friends. Silence, but the slight shift in Eri's body is translated as a motion to go on. Would it make you feel better to know about the story? A nod. That's good, Izuku thought. He also needed to get the story off his chest because he himself knows how restless he gets when he's aware of an unresolved conflict, especially regarding friendships. Well, the quirkless boy didn't tell the friend to go away. It was the friend, actually, he started. His friend was like me? Eri asked softly. Oh, definitely not, Eri. So? Pushing away his thoughts on how Kaken's face would look like on Eri's face. Not as terrifying as it sounds, it kinda looks like a mini Miruko? Okay, nope, Izuku replied with a chuckle. Well, I don't think you would tell Kuta that he is useless or worthless, no. Of course not, she breathes sharply, eyes wide. His friend is very mean and bad, I would never do that. All right, the plan kind of worked? Izuku thought, sorry Kaken, gotta make her a bit worked up. Exactly. You know, they were kind of friends for a way longer time than you and Kutakuen. Really? Yeah, since they were babies, even. His relationship with Kaken had always been complex. Every change in their dynamic deeply reflects hidden aspects of themselves individually and together. They wanted to be hero partners, you see. The greenhead trails off as he further loses himself to the waves of nostalgia. But a hero partner won't call you worthless, Eri pointed out. Izuku chuckled lightly and continued with a wistful sigh. Yeah, well, when they diagnose you as quirkless, everyone would push you away. Realizing the complexity of his words, Izuku promptly rephrased, I mean, his friend pushed him away when he knew the boy was quirkless. That's confusing, isn't it? He let out an awkward laugh. Don't worry with what I said just now, Eri. No. Izuku was cut off by Eri as the white-haired girl slightly pushed away from his hug, grips the sleeves of his shirt tight, and stares at Izuku with eyes that are filled with anger? The friend is bad. Friends are supposed to help, not push him and be mean. What? Let's go meet his friend now. I wanna be angry at him and tell him that he's the meanest person ever. They're friends again now, Eri. So you don't have to do that. That being angry thing, okay? You need to tell me why his friend is so mean, Deku. At the end of the story, okay? Okay, but the quirkless boy better be fine, Eri huffed. Of course, Izuku smiled. I wanted to tell you how they became friends again. They fought each other for a long time after all. Oh, Eri's eyes turned downcast in a sad realization. Then I have to wait for a long time to be Kutakuin's friend again. I promise you that's not true. There's a reason why it took so long. I'm telling you this story so that you don't have to wait as long as the quirkless boy did, okay? Him. Why do you say that, Deku? Well, they fought for so long because they thought it's too late to say sorry. His friend, especially. But now that you know it, it's easier to fix the fight. Eri stayed silent and deep in thought before asking, but you said it's too late to say sorry, so the fight couldn't have been fixed. Her eyes watered again. Like me and Kutakuin. Oh, Izuku murmurs, tucking a stray lock of the girl's hair back and stared straight at Eri's scarlet orbs. There's no such thing as too late when it comes to saying sorry. You don't know that. Kutakuin might hate me more when he realized how long I took. Eri sniffles as her body curls back to Izuku's arms, who soothingly runs his fingers through her scalp, grounding her as he murmured a reply in gentle confidence. But Kuta might be happy to finally talk and be friends again, he continued, for all those years. The quirkless boy never stopped waiting for his friend. Never? The small voice asked. Never, he echoed. Even when the friend pushed him away and told him to, he made the quirkless boy sad. Even when the boy never knew why he was hated in the first place. You never told me why his friend was so mean to the quirkless boy, Deku. Right? Izuku's lips slightly curved into a sad smile as his thoughts traveled back to a particular past conversation. The friend was scared. Scared? Of what, Deku? The confusion is evident in Ei's tone. You might effing die, nerd. He remembered Kaken's confession during their house arrest. You might effing die trying to be a hero when I'm still not effing strong enough to stop that shit. He was scared of losing the quirkless boy, Izuku responded. Because the quirkless boy gets hurt easily, everyone is mean to him, remember? Can't effing lose you when I care a shit ton about you, and I thought you knew that shit, Kaken had told Izuku, who will never forget the sight of his emotionally constipated childhood friend in tears. For the friend, it was better for the quirkless boy to be hurt by the friend himself, to lose his dreams because of him rather than focusing on being hurt by everyone else. Izuku continued. He could remember hearing Kaken's pain speech of, I thought you did all that hero shit jumping to that effing villain, I thought you knew I effing care and you're arrogant shitnerd but just wants to spite me. That's very sad, Deku, came the little girl's voice. Yeah, Izuku murmured, widening his eyes and looking up to stop the buildup of tears. All that time of not talking and not understanding could have been something else. Focus, Izuku, he snapped back to his current situation. Izuku admonished himself to prioritize the girl's well-being and worldview. His personal trauma is irrelevant right now, not that it's ever relevant, said a small voice in his head that he simply ignored. If you can send the friend a card, or if you were the friend, do you have an idea of what you're gonna do? He asked, making sure each word is clearly registered in the girl's head. There was no other sound than the faint wind and rustling of trees as Eri ponders her answer to his question. They should talk, shouldn't they, Deku? That sounds like an excellent idea, What would they talk about? Him. Oh. Eri's eyes brightened at a realization that she came to. Now they are talking, so they can say sorry to each other. You're right, Eri. Izuku mimicked the girl's excited energy. Because it's hard to say sorry when you're not talking, you see, Eri explained while Izuku listens in acknowledgement, but because they talk now, the friend can explain and say sorry. Even if it's too late? Izuku subtly directed. Yep, she grinned, even if it's oh. Her excitement bubbled down. Izuku broke their hug to stare at Eri, making sure he had done the right thing to get Eri to think what he initially is trying to say. Thankfully, the look on Eri's face is more contemplative rather than hopeless or depressed, which he worried would happen if he messed up. Deku. Yes, Eri? He smiled knowingly. I want to try talking and say sorry to Kuta-kun. Can you teach me how? Oh, make. 1. Eri stared nervously at the laptop screen placed on the living room table. Kuta is on the other end of the call, and Eri is fidgeting with the piece of paper on her hands. Please listen until the end, okay? Eri pleaded. Fine. I mean, okay, came the reply from Kuta. Taking a deep breath, Eri started reading the contents of the paper out loud. Thank you for wanting to listen to me, she says, making a conscious effort to read clearly. I am sorry. The things I said were mean, and I'm sorry I took so long to tell you I'm sorry. I hope it's not too late because I don't hate you, and I always want to be friends with you. Eri took another deep breath as she shakily ended her little speech with a quiet, "Can we be friends again, Kuta-kun?" Who would deny such a request? Of course, Kuta says yes, admitting that he was also sorry as they began to chatter like the argument never happened in the first place. Of course, the problem child taught her to write a script. Aizawa grunted as Hisashi simply chuckled at the sight. Don't tell Toshi yet, Sho, but I might have taken a peek at the essays Midoriya wrote to befriend him, whispered the voice quirk user to his husband, who simply scoffed at the newfound information. His problem child did him proud, Shouter's mind unconsciously told himself. 2. Hey, Kuta-kun. Yeah, eh? I have a secret mission. Wanna join? What is the mission about? So, there's this boy Deku knows that I wanna be friends with. We can be his heroes, Kuta-kun. All the adults missed this conversation, though they were talking with Hitoshi about his upcoming birthday as Ei and Kuta began designing their hero costumes with green-colored crayons. 3. No. Not gonna call you that, nerd. Please, Kaken. Hearing you call me Izuku just sounds weird. Don't wanna call you useless, so no Izuku. Yep, no. That's weird. Call me Deku, Katsuki. See, it felt weird, right? So, please? I wanna remember the nickname from my very first friend. It's your effing hero name now. It's different when you say it, Kaken. Katsuki responded with a growl. According to Midoriya Izuku's Encyclopedia of Bakugo Katsuki mannerisms, it is the equivalent of the angry blonde trying to hold back tears. Effing shitty dumbass nerd. Deku. Yes, and you're not getting rid of this dumbass. Also, you're the one who misread my name when you first read it, Kaken. You're the naive idiotic but for keeping it, though. Still forgive you anyway. I'll tell you all the time. Still can't believe you did, nerd. You can say happy birthday to me again as payment, Kaken, the day isn't over after all. Izuku sing-songed, but he can't hide the underlying pain in his voice from Katsuki. Happy effing birthday, shitty nerd, came Katsuki's response immediately without hesitation before continuing in a softer tone. Any word from the neglectful Bichinko? No, Izuku sighed and gave up, masking the disappointment in his voice. Not even today. Katsuki growled once more, in genuine anger, this time. She can F off for all she cares, Zuku. It's been half a effing year. Deku, does the quirkless boy have scars? Izuku has been regularly taking care of Eri, and this does not go unnoticed by the Eraser MIC family, who has been arranging those meetings over the past 3 weeks. Sometimes it's after school hours, sometimes it's during the lunch break, and sometimes it even includes times like these, where Eri wakes up from nightmares at 5 a.m., and Izuku is always awake and ready to invite her to his dorm room for coloring sessions. What Eri didn't know, and she doesn't need to, is that her presence has equally helped Izuku distract his mind away from his own nightmares that continuously torment the very few hours of rest he forced himself to get. Telling the younger girl a version of his personal story gave him an outlet to work on some pain that he has ignored for so long. Out of habit and lack of time. As long as the student sent his homeroom teacher a message on Ei's whereabouts, Aizawa-sensei never minded Ei and Izuku's early hour hangouts. The route from the teacher's dorms to 1A dorms is the safest compared to all other student dorm buildings, and Shouter hopes that spending time with A can decrease the amount of time his problem child spends on training at hours where people are supposed to lay in bed. During times like this, the hero-posted walls in Izuku's dorm room are once again welcomed with the familiar sounds of paper and pencil, along with the occasional murmurs between the little girl and her favorite hero student. He does, Eri. The quirkless boy has scars. Izuku replied with a bittersweet smile at the irony of the situation. Does he have, like, one scar, or does he have many scars like me? Many, many scars, Eri. Izuku breathed out, repeating it to himself in melancholy. So many scars. And even I can't see them all, Izuku thought to himself. Oh. Eri paused and pondered before continuing. Then, have you seen the quirkless boy's scars? Of course, Eri. Then, does his scars look ugly? Like mine? Izuku didn't know why he was momentarily surprised at her question. He knew more than anyone how hideous his scars can feel, and it means that Eri is bound to have similar perceptions on the rough patches on her own skin. However, Izuku would do anything he can to prevent Eri from wasting years of childhood struggling with insecurities due to her scars, so he tells her the one sentence he tells himself whenever he looks at his arms and legs or uses makeup to cover finger-shaped abrasions on his neck. Scars are not ugly, Eri. Even if there's many, many, many scars. Oh, Eri, he chuckled endearingly, especially if there are many, many scars. Oh, the girl said again, and she made a conflicted hum as Izuku saw the internal conflict through her eyes. Do you want me to tell you about the quirkless boy's scars? Izuku offers. Eri opened her mouth before closing again, eyebrows furrowed. Is it okay to tell me, Deku? She asked skeptically. I would feel weird and angry if someone talks about my scars without me knowing. He knows that I'm telling you this. He tells me about all his scars anyway, Eri. Izuku replied, mentally giving himself a pat on the back for patching the slight error. He's getting better at this. Do you? Eri's shaky voice paused as Izuku noticed the girl wincing and probably thinking of her past experiences. Do you want to know about my scars too? This is one of the cons of introducing Eri to someone she can relate with, Izuku thought. He has expected her to imitate some of the mannerisms that he told Eri in his stories, like writing and talking to himself. He might need to apologize to Aizawa-sensei about the second one, though. Izuku scoots closer to the little girl and pats her on the head as he reminds her with a warm and reassuring tone. Just because the quirkless boy tells me about his scars doesn't mean you have to, okay? You don't have to tell anyone anything if you don't want to, eh? He paused before adding, we don't want to go to a bad place in your head, don't we? Right. The bad place in one's head was a phrase that Izuku learned through Eri's chatters about her therapy sessions. He didn't want to introduce Eri to the term panic attack, yet because of the negative connotations that the word gives him. Calling it the bad place seems less intimidating, and it also doesn't remind Izuku of the countless times he had to hide in a bathroom or behind some bushes to calm himself down when no one else would. Then, I still want to know if the boy's scars are ugly like mine, Deku, Eri insisted. Scars are not ugly, remember? But sometimes they feel ugly like today. You know, maybe the quirkless boy didn't tell you about that, but sometimes scars just feel ugly even when people say they're not. Eri returned with a chastising tone that reminded Izuku of Recovery Girl when she lectured Izuku about using makeup on his scars. Exposure of chemical components to partially healed skin cells would accumulate into detrimental effects on your skin in the long term, boy. You have to wait until full recovery is made. He remembered from one of his most recent healing sessions. Hiro did say something like that. Izuku drifts off. They do sometimes feel ugly, especially the ones around the arms. He has them on his arms, too? Eri's excited voice snaps Izuku back to the girl's sparkly, cherry-colored eyes. Why yeah? Do you want to see it? Well, not that you have to dash, I mean, if you don't want to dash. I wanna see, came the reply, Eri practically buzzing with childlike anticipation. Oh, well then. Okay, wait a minute. Izuku leaned back and stretched towards his study table, grabbed his phone, and placed it into Eri's hands after a couple of flicks. All the energy emanating from the girl immediately dissipates when Eri saw a picture of an arm littered with scars. The image only shows the arm. There is no head or torso visible in the image to determine whom the scarred arm belonged to. It was an image Izuku took from one of his recent sessions with Recovery Girl when Yue's resident grandmother and nurse voiced her concerns about the intensity of chronic pains from the increased amount of scars throughout his body, especially around the arms. Izuku doesn't know whether Eri's silence is a sign of fear, disgust, or simply shock, so he just continues softly with a pained smile. He never had experience talking about this to someone else. Sometimes, his hands went to his arms as he caressed the familiar coarse surface of his skin through his sleeves. Sometimes, in very, very bad days, he couldn't stare at himself and would break and throw away the mirrors in his house. Because those scars feel like the ugliest things cursed to his body. Izuku expected the silence. And braced himself to calm the possibly frightened little girl. What he didn't expect was Eri snapping back to him, bewildered with a tone of disbelief. "No way!" Eri flashed the phone screen to him and pointed at the image as if trying to prove a point. "But they're so pretty, Deku." "Pretty?" "A hair," she nodded furiously. Like paintings. His scars are like paintings on his arms." Izuku smiled at the compliment before replying softly. "Well, it doesn't stop him from wishing that the scars would float away and disappear. Like you said, there are just some days where they feel ugly no matter what. So, even when they are this pretty. Even if they are this." Izuku paused because of how foreign the word felt on his lips in this context. Pretty. Then, the white-haired girl is quiet again, deep in thought and eyes flickering back and forth from the image on his phone to her arms. Izuku decided to drive the point back home and made her come to the conclusion that was the point of the whole conversation. Do you think your scars are ugly, eh?" A nod, so Izuku continues. "Can I know why?" Because the way I get them, Deku. The way I get them is ugly." Flashes of his middle school years, the neighborhood children, one for all, muscular, they all bubbled to his mind. And no, stop it, Deku, Izuku chastised himself. "It makes you go to a bad place in your head," he acknowledged. I think there's something about them that makes them pretty, though." Eri's head tilted in genuinely innocent confusion. Izuku would ruffle her hair at such an adorable sight if he wasn't too distracted to the point of not realizing the following couple words he says. "Do you want to know why the boy has scars, Eri?" "Yeah, why?" "Because he can't control the quirk." "But the boy is quirkless." "Oh, well." He gulped and convinced himself that he can salvage this slip-up. He borrowed someone's quirk. He can? Well, the person who lent it to him can. He taught the quirkless boy how to use the borrowed quirk. Sorry, All Might Sensei, he thought, not realizing that it left his mouth in a soft, sheepish mumble. "Why does it make scars, then?" Eri asked. Izuku gestures. "Whenever the quirkless boy uses it, the borrowed quirk, it makes scars on his arms. You know how painful and ugly things are when you get the scars, right?" "Oh, you're right, Deku." Eri nodded determinedly. She needs to know stuff about the boy if she wants to be his hero, remember? "Well," Izuku continues with the words that he constantly chants to convince himself, "I think the fact that he has scars shows that he got through the pain, no? Just like you did?" The younger girl seems convinced. "Doesn't that make you feel amazing?" He then gestures animatedly. "People with scars should be proud because it shows that, hey, I felt many bad things and went through ugly things, but I am here now, right?" "Right, you're right, Deku." Izuku smiled at the joyful tone and brightening eyes that replied to him. "Now, time to conclude," he told himself. "So," he dragged on, "the scars that you have are pretty, are they not?" "Yep." Eri nodded and added without hesitation. "The boy's scars, too." Izuku doesn't know whether the build-up of tears in his eyes was because of that statement or the dry eyes from staying too long in an air-conditioned room. It's probably the first option, but he'll just convince himself it's both. Patting Eri's head one more time, he then altered the conversation topic only slightly, though. "You know, There's something the quirkless boy does whenever he feels his scars are ugly. Oh make. 1. Papa. Eri started at one of her cuddle sessions with the voice quirk hero before bed. Yes, sweet pea? So, Deku told me that there are these special marker pen things that you can use to draw on skin. Did he? Yeah. Deku told me they're special because normal ones can hurt my skin. Hisashi is thankful that his princess's idol is a cautious one like Midoriya. He can't imagine the horror he and his husband would face if Eri idolizes Shouter's other students. The last thing they need is for their daughter to turn into a miniature version of Todoroki Shouto, and his daddy issues, God forbid, Tokoyami Fumikage. There's enough potential emos in the family, or Kaminari Denki. At least Midoriya's injuries are not because of his own idiocy. Don't even get him started on Bakugo Katsuki. That's right, sweet pea. Can you buy me those pens for my next birthday? You don't have to buy another gift for Christmas, and I'm okay with no plushes this year. So Desh. No man is perfect, I guess, Hisashi thought, as his little girl has definitely picked up her hero idol crush's mumbling habits. His so teasing show about this later once his husband finishes his late-night patrol. Whoa, sweet pea. We'll buy it tomorrow, okay? There's no need to wait that long, and Papa still wants to buy you a plushie, baby. So adorable, Hisashi cooed at how Eri's ruby orbs twinkle. So adorable. Really? Why betcha, we are. Then, when we get home tomorrow, can you draw pretty things around my scars, Papa? 2. It was the day after his most recent talk with Eri, and Izuku is fidgeting nervously during his healing session with Recovery Girl. About my decision a couple days ago, he began, I've changed my mind. I'm keeping these. He motioned to his arms. Oh. The elder lady raised her eyebrows and glanced at him. You were so sure to do the surgery, boy. Is it the money? I was going to tell you that the dermatologist and I will use our personal funds. You're not paying it back, boy. No, it's not the money. So? Izuku looks away slightly, playing with the bag of gummy bears in his hands. Maybe there could be a day where I can see them as, pretty. If Chio's eyes were watering when he said that, only the crumpled flyer about a surgical scar removal and Nedzu's security cameras were the witnesses. 2. Dear Deku's friend, the brave boy. This is Eri again. I'm learning how to write letters for you, okay? I heard from Deku that you have scars. It's okay because I have scars too. It feels ugly sometimes, but drawing sparkles around them really makes it feel less ugly. Deku told me you also did that. When I meet you and be your friend, and Kuta too, he's not mean like the people you know, I promise. I want to show you the glitter pens my papa and dad bought for me and make your scars look pretty. Does the friend you borrow quirks from draw your scars? This is how I would draw around the scars on your arm. Deku showed me the picture, your scars are so pretty. On the bottom of the paper, a childish rendition of a familiar scarred arm, and heart shapes and stars around each scar. Eri stares at her most recent work in satisfaction, stores the letter in her little box with her other gifts for the boy, and continues her plans for her hero costume on a new piece of paper. Progress is never linear, especially when it comes to mental health. Panic attacks are rare for Eri now, but it doesn't stop it from sneaking up on the little girl every once in a while. Early this morning, a furniture company advertisement for a massage chair was what caused the Eraser MIC couple to spend several moments calming down the hyperventilating child. It ended with Ai crying to sleep due to the fatigue caused by the panic attack. When the girl woke up a couple hours later, Hisashi suggested cheering her up by letting her see Midoriya, knowing very well the positive effects of the hero student's presence on the child. This is why Izuku is currently sitting next to Eri in the teacher's lounge instead of being in the 1A classroom. The first couple of class PS mostly contain classwork and no lectures, so Aizawa deemed it fit to drag Izuku out of the class and pushed Izuku to his daughter, who immediately brightened up once she sees her familiar green-haired idol. Now, Eri seems to be busying herself with drawings and writing letters. I want to send them to the boy all at once, okay Deku, the girl had told him, while Izuku finishes up another one of his assigned classwork. Every once in a while, Eri would ask a random question about the boy, who Eri insisted is not quirkless anymore, and Izuku will answer accordingly. Ever since the last conversation about scars, Eri keeps on asking questions about him. They are relatively simple, but Izuku won't lie that some of them did make him stumble on his words. Like, what's his favorite color? Easy, red. Favorite food? Also easy, katsudon. What does he like to do? Write in his notebooks. Like you, Deku? Eri had asked. I taught him how to do it, was Izuku's stuttered answer. On the other hand, Izuku has been getting better at deflecting Eri's questions by answering with half-truths and omitting certain parts that are dead giveaways. Call it a guilty conscience or his reckless sense of responsibility, but it just feels wrong to lie to such an innocent child for no apparent reason, and before anyone asks, no, Izuku's own issues does justify as a reason for lying to a 7-year-old child. Deku. Yes, Eri? Izuku glanced away from his work. You know, I went to a bad place in my head just this morning. Izuku can somewhat predict where the conversation is going, as he was briefed beforehand about how the situation is most likely going to lead to a chat about how Eri feels about her most recent panic attack. Oh, my, he paused before asking, do you feel better now, though? I'm feeling okay now, but... Eri hesitates, but it was really weird. What was weird? The way I went there was weird. Eri gestures and tries to explain as best as she can, like, I saw a chair, and then everything went bad. Izuku concluded that Eri was probably unsettled by how mundane the trigger of her panic attack seems to be. He could definitely relate to that. After all, if it weren't for the psychology textbooks that he forced himself to study during middle school, he would probably maintain the level of insecurity he has on his panic attack triggers. That's pretty normal, though, Izuku pointed out. It's not always the big things that make you go there, Sometimes, it's the little things. It usually doesn't make me go there, but it did today. Eri trailed off. And that's normal, too, he assured. Does the boy ever go to the bad place in his head? Was Eri's next question before she added, because of the little things, maybe? This is also another new aspect of the two's conversations. Eri would ask whether the boy, aka Izuku himself, has experienced similar things to Eri in an attempt to rationalize the things happening around her. For example, she would ask whether the boy has nightmares like her or whether the boy has to brush his teeth before bed and eat the vegetables during dinner even when they're yucky. He does, Izuku answered. He goes there a lot, too, because of big things and many small things. Illogical, stupid things, his self-deprecating mind supplied. If you and the boy are okay with it, Eri started, can you tell me what makes him go there? Izuku tried to steady his voice before continuing, many things, Eri. Both big and small. I don't mind, do you want to listen about it? Eri nodded politely, I want to listen, please. Well, he started, I guess the most weird reason would be he paused before shamefully admitting, adults. Midoriya Izuku, he chastised himself mentally, you know better than to call panic attack triggers stupid, in front of Eri even when yours are adults. Eri tilted her head. Yeah, he elaborated, people don't really notice it, though. He would, get really scared when he sees adults. So, the boy only sees kids. No, actually, Izuku corrected sheepishly. He has to, live with it? I mean, like, he still has to see adults every day and stuff. Even when he's scared of them? Well, yeah. Eri ponders, can I know why adults make the boy go to the bad place in his head? She then reasoned, you know, because people like Dad, Papa, and Hound Dog Sensei are nice adults. I was scared of adults too, but now I'm not scared of nice adults. Here goes nothing, Izuku thought. So, I once told you about how everybody's kinda mean to him, right? When he receives a nod from Eri, Izuku continued, well, at your age, adults are also a part of the mean people? Like, well, who would you go to when someone's mean to you? Well, I can go to Dad, to Papa, to Hound Dog Sensei, Auntie Nemurai. Eri trailed off and concluded, any people. Dad says it's okay as long as they are papa's or dad's friends. That's right, Eri, Izuku said and then continued his line of reasoning. Well, the people you go to are all adults, aren't they? Oh, right. Eri answered in realization. You're right, Deku. All of them are adults, actually. Well, if someone is mean to the boy, who should he go to? An adult. Eri trailed off as she starts thinking. But everyone's mean, Izuku reminded, including the adults. Oh, wait. Eri stiffened, so. The adults are mean to him? Even when he needs help? Yes, one of Izuku's arms wrapped around himself in an attempt of self-comfort, and even when he tries to ask for help, what the adults did instead was. They get meaner, Deku? Izuku couldn't hold back a shudder as specific memories began to flash back in his head. I need a band-aid, please, 6-year-old Izuku had stuttered. Liar, Midoriya, the school nurse sneered, now go back before I report you for skipping class and wasting school property. We're closed, the stationery shop owner growled, piss us off, kid. Please, little Izuku had begged in tears, the sign says it's 1 more till why you close. Instead, the shop owner grabbed the small boy by the collar and threw him out of the door, ignoring little Izuku's pleas of I have money, please, with a hiss of I don't sell to people with stolen money, useless. They get meaner, Izuku echoed with a trembling affirmative, very, very mean. Eri is now quiet, pondering hard as her thoughts no longer focus on her initial question nor her own predicament. The boy needs saving, and Eri needs to be the boy's hero. So, even later on, when the boy meets nice adults, he won't. Izuku gestures, he can't, you know. He'll still be scared, Eri nodded, and Izuku is once again taken aback by the girl's ability to form conclusions. Yes, he admitted, which is why it makes him go to the bad place in his head. Oh, Eri mumbled, that's very sad, Deku. And maybe Izuku added in an attempt to return to the initial conversation topic, maybe he'll get better and not be as scared, but every once in a while, he would go to the bad place in his head because of adults. Like me, the little girl remarked in discernment, but her focus is no longer on herself. And it makes the things that make you go into the bad place, it makes them not as weird anymore now, right? Izuku tries to make sure. Yeah, Eri replied offhandedly before picking up a pencil to a new sheet of blank paper. Oh, can I also know some other things that make the boy scared? I don't want to make him go to a bad place in his head when I meet him. You want to meet him? Izuku asked in mild disbelief. Of course. Eri chirped, I want to be his hero, you see. Izuku chuckled at the irony of the situation but replied nevertheless while trying hard to ground himself. He would think you're his hero, eh? The green-haired student smiled softly before the freckles on his cheeks seems to dim as he slowly dissociates when he answered, well, loud noises. Heights only sometimes, and dark places, crowded places like malls, and maybe don't touch my dash. He tries hard to snap back to reality by concluding, I mean, don't suddenly touch his neck, I guess. If it weren't for his dissociative haze, Izuku would have noticed Eri furiously writing down what he said into a list. However, the white-haired girl simply stayed quiet as she wrote down her stuff that makes the boy scared, do not dio list. She only piped up when Izuku was done talking. I was also scared when I went to the mall, Deku. Eri marveled, he's so much like me. You know, Deku, I used to get scared of people touching me too, remember? Right? Izuku tried to reply with matching enthusiasm, I remember now. He doesn't, really. All he remembers was the small, trembling figure of a child while he focuses on constantly breaking his bones through one for all 100% as Eri's quirk was active. Oh, I can't wait to meet the boy, Deku. Eri gushed, he'll meet me when you send the letters, right? He would love to meet you, Izuku deflected, when he's ready, okay? When he's ready to tell you that he has been telling you pathetic sob stories of his younger self, Izuku added mentally. Okay. Eri chimed as her little fingers began to pick up a new piece of blank paper and another colored pencil. It was silent for a while, Izuku calming himself down while Eri was entirely focused on her next hero plan for the boy. However, Izuku's curiosity got the better of him, and he couldn't help but ask. Hey! Emichim? Why do you want to meet him? I thought you wanted me to send your letters for him. Well, Eri's hand stopped writing as she smiled brightly at the dumbfounded hero student. I have to meet him if I want to give him a big hug and be his hero. Oh, Izuku choked and hoped he didn't sound like a person on the verge of tears. Is that so? The latter gleefully nodded and continued her writings. You know, Deku's stories about him make me feel less lonely because he is like me. Deku is my hero. So I want to help Deku and be the boy's hero now. Izuku knows that holding back tears until Aizawa-sensei came back would be difficult, but maybe it is training in itself. Omake. 1. Group Chat UA Teachers. Inui Rio, Hound Dog. At a Razorhead at present MIC in today's therapy session, Eri mentioned about wanting to meet a boy? Disclosure approved by her, by the way. 11:30 a.m. Maybe you and Papa and Dad can help out was what she said. 11.30. Yamada Hisashi, present MIC. At a Razorhead OMG show our baby. 11.30. She's going to elope. 11.30. At a Razorhead. 11.30. At Eraserhead. 11.30. Aizawa Shouter, Eraserhead. She's 7 and stop pinging me. 11.36. Yamada Hisashi, present MIC. She's interested. 11:36 p.m. In a boy. 11:36 p.m. That's not Midoriya aka your problem child. 11:36 p.m. At Eraserhead do something as you. 11:36 p.m. Inui Rio, Hound Dog. Wait no not that way. 11:45 a.m. She says something about becoming the boy's friend and being his hero? 11:45 a.m. And how to make people go away from the bad place in their head, apparently. 11:45 a.m. Aizawa Shouter, Eraserhead. 11:47 a.m. My daughter is becoming more and more like my problem child as of late. 11:50 a.m. Now Zashi stop freaking out, I have a class to teach. 11:50 a.m. Kiyoma Nemurai, midnight. Just read the whole thing. Is anyone not gonna comment on how Aizawa called Midoriya his problem child? 12:30 p.m. Message has been deleted by user. 12:30 p.m. 2. Dad. Yes, Aizawa looks up from his student's classwork. I used to be scared of adults, right? I was even scared of you, remember? Yes. But now I'm not anymore. Not to the nice adults, I mean, right Dad? Aizawa grunts in acknowledgement and eyes his daughter, who is currently busy doodling something with green crayons. What? Eri paused her drawings as ruby eyes met Onyx. What did you do to make me not scared of you anymore? On a piece of paper, there's a drawing of Eri in a Lemillion Deku fusion suit, with childish writings of Hero Eri will save you. 3. Inbox. 1. You received a new email from midoriya.inko@email.com. 2. midoriya@email.com. Subject. This is my last email to you. Please let me live a happy life for once. Do not reply. Sender has changed address to nakamura.inko@email.com. On July 4th, Midoriya Inko married Nakamura Jin and is pregnant with twins. Midoriya Inko is now Nakamura Inko, and this means that the last Midoriya is currently muffling his sobs in his dorm room at 11 p.m. in an attempt to not alert his dorm mates after reading his former mother's farewell abandonment message. It was 4 o'clock in the morning when Eri saw Deku outside the teacher's dorms from her bedroom window. She couldn't sleep anymore. After all, she slept during the day because she got too tired from going to the bad place in her head the day before. Thankfully, Izuku was far enough away for Eri to not notice the tear stains on his cheeks and puffy eyes. Unaware of his surroundings, he has neglected sleep and chose to continuously jog to wherever his feet seem to take him since 2 a.m. in the morning. He's doing all he can to stop the malicious sneers of worthless, useless, waste of space from engulfing his entire conscience. He's trying, he really is, But Izuku is teetering over the edge of the cliff of his sanity and is too focused on not breaking down in the middle of God knows where to notice Eri's light footsteps. Deku? He heard a soft voice pierce through the maelstrom in his head. Eri's voice snaps Izuku back to reality. Assessing his surroundings, he sees the little girl standing slightly further away from the entrance of the teacher's dorms in her sleepwear, holding a plushie, and adorning a look in her eyes filled with an emotion Izuku couldn't quite name due to his current distractions. Oh, Izuku cleared his throat. Awake. After saying bye to you yesterday, I had a chat with Hound Dog Sensei. Eri pouted with her favorite unicorn plushie in her arms, and then I got tired and sleepy, so I slept. So, I'm not sleepy anymore now. Then, she looked at Deku really hard, and she asked in worry. You also can't sleep, Deku? Yeah, can't sleep. Izuku tries hard to not sound too broken. Many things in my head, I guess. And when he says many things, he means all the negative and self-deprecating thoughts that have been swirling since that email came. For the well-being of the children in my womb, I hope you understand that I cannot handle the stress of a son that constantly risks his life in the hero course. Deku, Eri's voice is laced with concern. You're sad. He trails off. He needs to get whatever in his head off his chest before he continues to crumble in front of A. Let's sit down somewhere, okay? I want to tell you about the quirkless boy. When he sees Eri's mouth open to reply, he quickly added, but you don't have to if you don't want to dash. Of course I want to listen, Deku. Eri interjected as she lifts her pointer finger to remind the green-haired boy, but you can't call him quirkless, okay? He's not quirkless anymore, remember? Someone gave him a quirk to borrow. At any other time, he would argue against that. However, Izuku simply motions towards a nearby bench and weakly replies, let's sit there, okay? So, they did. Eri sits on Izuku's lap with her head leaning on his chest, swinging her legs slightly as Izuku's scarred hands run down her hair and her silverish locks glow under the nearby streetlight. It's a strategic position to prevent Eri from seeing his face in case his tear glands fail him, which they do most of the time. Do you think? If the boy wants to be a hero, would you believe him? He asked, trying to tone down the bitterness in his voice. Of course. Eri answered without missing a beat, I want to be a hero too, so I'll be his hero, and then we all can be heroes together, right? Well, if you tell Aizawa-sensei that you want to be a hero, what would he say? Oh, I've told Dad and Papa too. They like my hero costume, you know. That's very nice. Izuku's eyes tear up as he smiles sullenly. It's a bittersweet feeling knowing that you'll never get what someone has, but you feel thankful that they wouldn't have to go through what you've experienced. He then continues, nobody believed that he could be a hero. Nobody? Eri gasped softly. None, he echoed with a forlorn gaze in his tear-soaked eyes. There wasn't anyone that believes in him like how your parents believe in you, Eri. Izuku couldn't help it anymore. For the next hour, the floodgates simply open as he tells Eri everything, how everyone seems to shatter his hopes and dreams simply because of who he is. He told her how the boy's father left him far away, his presence vanishing without a trace the day after his toe joint x-ray results came up. How he hears whispers of it makes sense, who would want a quirkless child, when he walked around the neighborhood. His dad is very mean, Deku. Eri had remarked, tell the boy that he can share Papa and Dad with me, okay? You would have to ask your family's permission for that, eh? That includes your brother too. Was Izuku's counterargument, fully aware of the unlikelihood of his teachers adopting him, the troublesome, problematic nuisance that is him, out of all people, as he thought back to that email again. My husband, Jin, arranged a prenatal quirk assessment for my children. I will finally have 2 children with a single toe joint and quirks that will manifest in time, Izuku. Then, the dam continues to break. Izuku telling Eri bits and pieces of all the people who told him he can't be a hero, how they told him to stop trying, and how they reminded him of the futility of his dreams. Not even All Might, he thought as Eri attentively listened to how even the boy's favorite hero told him to be realistic due to the boy's apparent quirklessness. I don't like that hero, Deku. That hero shouldn't be a hero anymore. Eri huffed. Well, the hero changed his mind later, Izuku stuttered out before unconsciously mumbling, or else who would have given the quirk in the first place? Did the hero ever say sorry? She demanded. The hero later told the boy that he could be a hero. That's not how you say sorry, Deku. Well, the hero helped the boy a lot, though. Jin and I agreed to each other that we will distance our children from heroism on my second attempt at parenting. I'll make sure that they will take more realistic and safe career paths that don't involve dying before achieving an unattainable dream. He then tells Eri about how the boy's hero idol's friend hates him. He tells her how the hero's friend constantly criticizes how the boy is not worthy of holding a quirk in the first place, let alone be a hero, and how someone else should have taken his place instead. He has a point, though. Izuku had pointed out, there are many people that could have borrowed the same quirk and be way better. He's wrong. Eri exclaimed, you're right, Deku. Everybody is so mean to the boy. Why can't they just talk to each other and say sorry? Like the boy and his friend. To that, Izuku simply stays silent. After all, he knows very well that there is no way to reconcile with the dead. Sir Nightye's words are merely another haunting ghost that he has to live with, like many other people's words that seem to tirelessly torment his very being. Money is not an issue with Jin. He just wants you to not involve yourself in our lives. You have your happiness as a hero student, so let me finally have my happiness, okay? Finally, Izuku told her how the boy's mother used to be the only person who wasn't mean and helped him become a hero, but she, too, like many others, left and never believed he could be a hero. She probably never believed in the first place, actually. But before the sun rises and Aizawa-sensei can watch how Izuku pathetically breaks down in front of his 7-year-old daughter, Izuku promptly ends his story and tells her he'll continue it another day. He hurriedly bids Eri goodbye, tells her that he has to prepare for school, and simply breaks down into another fit of sobs once he enters his dorm room again. Make 1. Dear the brave boy, Eri wrote while hugging the present MIC plushie that Deku gave to her. I asked Deku to ask you to send me a letter too, okay? I really want to be your friend. I promise I'm not mean, okay? I want to share my papa and dad with you. She glanced back at the dining table from where she's sitting near the living room table. Papa, Dad, and Toshini seem to be talking about something. She isn't hungry for breakfast yet, so she sits down on the table in front of the living room sofa while the rest of the Eraser-MIC family eats the first meal of their day. I promise you they are very nice. My papa and dad are not like your mother and father because my papa and dad are very nice even when they are adults. She continues, don't listen to the mean people, okay? My papa and dad would definitely say you can be a hero. I think you can be a hero too. It's Dad, and Dash. Eri perked up slightly when she heard Toshini say her name. She wants to know what Papa and Dad and Toshini are talking about. I don't understand why you allow my Doria, of all people, to spend so much time near Eri, she heard her brother say. Eri doesn't know why yet, but Toshini sounds hurt and sad. I thought problem child is fine, Dad replied. What's wrong, Toshi? She leans closer to the sofa chair and fully focuses on listening in to their conversation. On the other hand, the three people she's eavesdropping on simply continue their conversation, thinking Eri was too far away and distracted with her drawings to pay attention to the conversation at hand. He has such a heroic quirk, Dad. He has been trying to constantly pester me, and now he's using Eri too? Toshini sounded angry at Deku. But Deku is not using Eri, though? Oh, Toshi, she heard Papa with his calming voice as always. Talk to us, okay? Why would you think that? He knows, Pops, he knows, his quirk so suited for heroics, and he just has to try to buddy up with me. Like, I don't need his pity and dash. Toshini continues talking to Papa and Dad, and Toshini is crying? A thought ran through Eri's head. She went back to the letter she was working on and added a small note under her letter to the brave boy. Peters, you know, my brother, Toshini, has less scars than you and me, but he is like us too. He is not mean, and I think you two will be best friends. I think I want to practice being his hero first, so then I can be your hero too. The Eraseramic couple had just finished calming down their eldest son from crying when they heard Eri exclaim as she walked closer to the dining room table. Toshini, her eyebrows furrowed with concern, you're sad. Oh, sweetheart. Hisashi tries to move closer to the younger child, worried that she might become too distraught due to eavesdropping on their conversation. Yes, baby, but dash. Before he could get near her, Eri has launched herself past her dad and papa and straight to her brother, because Toshini kinda looks like Deku earlier today. To Ai, nothing else matters other than giving Toshini a tight hug similar to the hug she had always wanted to give to the boy ever since Deku told her about him. Toshini is not a villain, okay? People who call Toshini a villain are mean people. Kitten-shouter started only to be cut off by the determined child. No, listen please. Eri hugs her brother tighter before looking at Hitoshi with fire glazing in her ruby-colored orbs. Toshin, don't listen to the meanies, okay? You can be a hero, okay? I believe in you, you really can be a hero. Hitoshi is torn between his panic and happiness. On the one hand, he's happy that Eri thinks he can be a hero, but his little sister, who has seen too much shit in her life than she should, is now burdened with knowing his shit too. Please don't hide about being sad from me. Eri's puppy eyes start to fill with tears. Please? Because it would hurt, and then you would think everyone is mean, and I want to help. I really want to and dash. Breathe, kitten. Shouter ran his hands on Eri's hair, trying to calm the panicking child with the help of his husband. Toshi has your papa and me. I promise we're helping him. Right, Toshi? Right? Hitoshi nods and joins his dad's attempt to calm his little sister. Pops and Dad are helping me, okay, eh? I'm okay now. It did help the little girl breathe again, but it didn't stop the soft, pained sniffles from the youngest family member. I know Toshini is okay, but, Eri sniffled before burying her face into her brother's chest. I want to help. I wanna learn how to help. Toshini has papa and dad, but what, Eri? Hitoshi probed further when Eri's voice went smaller. But the boy, this person I wanna help. Eri continued desperately. This person I know doesn't have anybody like papa and dad, and I wanna try helping Toshini so I can help the boy because he also thinks he cannot be a hero. And oh, Eri paused when she realized everyone else was quiet. Is it? Is this bad? Are you angry? No, not at all, baby, Hisashi reassured. We're listening, okay? So, you know this boy? He motions for his daughter to continue. And people also think the boy can't be a hero. I know, Eri nodded before an idea flashed through her head. Toshin, you and the boy can be friends, and then we all can be hero partners together. The boy? Hitoshi asked, confused. The boy? I know a lot about him. And what's the boy's name? Shouter asks, clearly remembering Hound Dog's chat message to him yesterday. Oh, Eri blushed. Deku didn't tell me the boy's name. Problem child told you about this boy? Shouter paused before rephrasing. I mean, he introduced you to the boy. But I haven't met the boy, though, Eri mused before adding, but I will soon. You haven't met him, Hitoshi paused, but you know him. Yeah. Eri nodded, excited to introduce the boy to her brother so the two can be friends. Deku has been telling me stories about him, but I haven't met him yet because the boy gets scared easily, especially with adults, you know. A boy who fears adults. The other three pondered. What has Midoriya been telling Eri? There's something in Shouter's gut that tells him to probe further into the little girl's story. First of all, this is a boy that Eri is interested in other than his problem child. Second, Shouter has suspicions that there is more to the story than it seems. Kneeling down and facing his daughter eye to eye, the dark-haired man slowly spoke to his daughter. He picked up the little girl from Hitoshi's arms, and her ruby orbs are now focused on Shouter. Can Papa, your brother, and I hear this story? Yeah, Hitoshi added, who would want to miss out on finally confronting Midoriya to stay away from Eri? What if we sit on the sofa? I would love to hear you tell us about. The boy? Yeah, the boy. Shouter hopes he doesn't scare the child. Instead, the girl happily nods. Of course, Eri replied with ease, I was gonna tell you about him anyway, especially for Toshin. Why specifically Toshi, sweet pea? Hisashi asked. wondering if Midoriya is secretly a child therapist or something. Oh, because Toshini probably also knows about the boy. Eri's head tilted, 7-year-old logic working. Because the boy is Deku's friend, you see. Also, when I feel sad or lonely, Deku will tell me stories about the boy, and then I will feel less lonely and have more ideas on how to be the boy's hero. Thus, the family sat on the living room sofa unaware of the realization they will come to once the whole story is done. So, Eri started, there is a sad boy who thinks he's worthless. Prelude 1. So, there is a sad boy who thinks he's worthless. The family knows how Eri could remember things to terrifying details, especially if she's fully focused and interested in it. This is their current position, an Eraser MIC family cuddle pile with Eri stroking their pet cat, in the middle of said cuddle pile as Eri recounted her past conversations with her favorite hero student. No one is worthless, Eri, Shouter sighed. I know, right? Eri agreed, but Deku said the boy felt that way because he was quirkless. The word itself may have caused her listeners to tense up, but it's almost unnerving to Shouter how easy and fluid the word flows from the little girl's lips, especially considering her lack of exposure to the outside world. The explicit meaning of quirkless itself may simply be a person who lacks a quirk, but the implicit meaning of quirkless comes with many issues. Years of experience as an underground hero and in many suicide prevention centers is enough for Shouter and Hisashi to know that the word also means the suicidal, abused, neglected, and dehumanized minority. Quirkless. Hitoshi reconfirms, trying to fish out how the girl knew the word. Oh, right, you also probably never met a quirkless person before, right Toshini? Eri's simple mind misinterpreted her brother's confusion as his lack of knowledge in what the word means, just like her before Deku explained to her. So, a quirkless person is a person who has no quirk. Like, we have powers, but the boy doesn't. Deku said it's normal to not know, though. How would Midoriya, of all people, know about that, though? Hitoshi inquired, trying hard to hold back a scoff. The problem child's quirk manifested late, Shouter recalled. I guess it makes sense for him to know about quirklessness. It also checks out, Hisashi added, tapping a finger to his chin. If this boy is Midoriya's friend, maybe they met through a quirkless community. Eri hummed, what does man.manifest late mean? Well, Hisashi responded, when you first start to show your quirk, that's called manifesting. Most people start showing their quirks when they are 4 or 5 years old. When you say someone's quirk manifests late, Shouter continued, it means their quirk shows up later than normal, so problem child probably manifests his quirk when his your age maybe? 7 or 8 years old. So that's why Deku knows people can be mean to quirkless people. Probably, Shouter nodded, taking in the new information while glancing at Hitoshi, who is now quietly pondering and deep in thought. But that means the boy and Deku are quirkless at my age. Eri's eyebrows furrowed once more as she tilted her head. Or they were quirkless until your age, sweet pea, Hisashi nodded. That doesn't make sense, though, Eri corrected. Deku said the boy never met a quirkless person before. That's why the boy felt so lonely. After sharing a confused look with his husband, Shouter held back his desire to point out the contradiction. Instead, he decided to ask Eri, we'll sort that out later once the whole story is finished, how about that? Oh, Eri chirped, okay. So, the boy was lonely and must hide being sad because. Eri began recounting the stories Deku told her almost word by word, like she has written it all down and memorized them. She also showed the other 3 her cards, artworks, and letters that they soon learn are to be sent to the boy today when she meets Midoriya again. As each artwork was shown and each letter was read out loud, suspicions continue to rise. Things start pointing to a direction they don't like. Midoriya Izuku knows too much sensitive information about this boy's personal life to simply be a friend. When Eri recounts the story surrounding her very first card to the boy, Hisashi couldn't help but worry about this boy's mental state. The way Eri describes the boy's sadness and how everybody's mean to the boy sounds very much like an attempt to hide mental health issues. It has taken Eri herself quite some time to learn that repressing emotions does more harm than good, and that's with the help of the very supportive UA community. Hisashi couldn't fathom the increased difficulty of handling the boy's mental health in the middle of a stigmatized society, especially due to his quirklessness. When taking out a drawing made by her and Kuta, Eri told them, "You know, even his best friend was so mean to him for a long time. Deku taught me to talk with my friends when we are fighting each other. Just like that time with me and Kuta-kun." Then, she continued talking about the boy's conflict with his friend. To this, Hitoshi couldn't help but think about his initial confusion about Bakugo and Midoriya's relationship. When Hitoshi brought up his assumption and envy on how the two were simply rivals with good quirks, Todoroki gave him a cold, hard glare as Uraraka simply shook her head with a wistful smile. "It's not rivalry, Shinsu-kun, but it's better than whatever it was before in the early days of 1A, Hitoshi remembered her sighing. "It's more than simple childhood rivalry in both a good and bad way. No one other than the two of them knows exactly what they are." "Oh, this one is my favorite," Eri gushed, eyes sparkling as she showcased her third letter. "Remember when I asked about the glitter pens for my skin, Papa? The boy has many scars too. When I meet him, I want to draw happy smiles and sparkles around them." On the bottom of her letter, there sits a drawing of a very familiar scar. Those types of scars only come from unhealed skin cells due to torn muscle tissue under said skin layer, and there's only one person they know who has a quirk that could cause such scars. As the Eraser MIC couple looked at each other, they concluded that it's either their imagination or Eri's drawing is a very childish rendition of Aizawa Shouter's beloved problem child's arm. No one dared to voice out their suspicions and musings, not until Shouter himself speaks up. "Eri, kitten, I'm going to cut you off right there for a bit." He hesitates, and God, he hopes he's wrong, and he's the crazy one. If I say the boy is Deku, does it make sense to you?" "I was going to ask the same thing, Sho." Hisashi stared at his husband with conflict evident in his eyes. "But why?" Eri's mind hasn't caught up with the elder's logic. "That drawing, kitten," Shouter explained, "that drawing of yours is very much like Deku's arm. I think, how do you know what the boy's scars look like?" "Deku showed me from his phone," Eri answered, "but only his arm, though. Also, Dad, Deku is not the boy. He's probably the one who shared his quirk with the boy." "Well, baby," Hisashi backtracked a little when Eri's words fully sunk into his mind. "Wait, share a quirk?" "Yep. Deku told me the boy's scars come from borrowing someone's quirk," was Eri's reply as she explains like she's pointing out the obvious. "That's why he's the boy and not the quirkless boy, and that's why he has scars." "That's not how quirks work, eh?" Hitoshi pointed out as Eri looked at him and made a confused noise. Shouter flinched and thought about the quirk apprehension test. That was why Midoriya is his problem child in the first place, the boy who always broke bones. His initial thoughts about Midoriya were that it was due to lack of quirk practice, and he thought his problem child just didn't have enough motivation to catch up on his missing 2 years of quirk usage practice. But as time passes by, Shouter has been noting the peculiarity of that assumption, as Midoriya Izuku is one of the most, if not, the most, hard-working student in his class. In fact, Shouter spends more time trying to stop him from practicing rather than the opposite. "But the boy borrowed a hero's quirk, and Deku is the boy's hero," she reminded. "That's why the boy has scars, Toshini. The borrowed quirk hurts him when he uses it, remember?" No, none of them remembers, but what Shouter remembers is a particular conversation he almost forgot between his problem child and Bakugo when he eavesdropped on them, initially aiming to make sure they weren't actively trying to kill each other when no one else is in the 1A dorms during their house arrest. "About it to Aizawa-sensei, nerd," was the beginning of the conversation that he picked up on. "Yes, All Might-sensei says it's okay, but dash. Then what are you waiting for? Endeavor to become a professional figure skater or some shit." "No, but it's hard, Kaken, and it's terrifying." "You know what," he heard Katsuki say, "when he comes up to you, you effing tell him, no more lying about this sheet in the first place." "Fu, it's All Might," Shouter realized, eyes wide. The strange closeness between All Might and his problem child makes more sense now. Now, Shouter isn't stupid. In fact, contrary to the UA teachers' eccentricity and their colorful personalities, there is a certain level of intelligence required to work under the most intelligent mammal on Earth. Add in the fact that Shouter is the homeroom teacher of the top hero school's main hero class. It's just logical that Shouter's intelligence is one of many decisive factors that resulted in him teaching 1A. Everything seems to click too well in place. Shouter's revelation seems like something so obvious but was so well hidden all this time. The bits and pieces of clues were there from the whispers in the underground hero world, the way Midoriya Izuku's medical information was too empty before he entered UA, and the way his problem child acts as a whole, but Eri's story is the final clue that finally pulls Shouter into his current awareness. What's with All Might Sensei? It's Hitoshi this time who couldn't build the connection within his dad's reasoning. You told me how Problem Child's quirk is heroic because he's like a mini All Might, Shouter shuddered, and that's not a coincidence, Toshi. What do you mean? Hisashi whispered, when I overheard the 1A kids talking about Midoriya crying when All Might said you're next back during FO. That wasn't happy tears, Zashi. Shouter held back a curse. I've heard rumors underground. Rumors about there's more to my problem child than I know, and it's hurting him, Zashi. He focused back on A, who he realized is tensed up and quiet. A, kitten, you okay? I'm okay, Eri hesitated. But if Deku is really the boy she gasped sharply, tears welling up her eyes as she frantically let out an oh no. The cuddle pile immediately breaks, Shouter holding the girl in case her quirk goes haywire as they try to calm the child down her upcoming hysteria. Sure, look at me. Breathe, okay, kitten. Shouter runs his hands through her locks of hair in an attempt to ground her only to be pushed away as Eri wailed while staring at her dad with desperation in her eyes. I am breathing, but no. We have to help Deku, she hiccuped. We have to help him right now. He has many scars, Dad. Eri had shrieked, and he thinks they're ugly on bad days. It means Deku is scared of adults because they get meaner when he asks for help. Nobody believes he can be a hero, Papa. Even his favorite hero said he can't be a hero. It took a couple minutes to calm Eri down. But the things the little girl cried out in her panicked stupor make the older family members more worried for the green-haired student more than even A. She's right, the boy, Izuku, needs help and support, and he needs it very much. God knows if the kid has ever gotten anything in semblance of a supportive community before UA. So, we're going with this. Hitoshi reconfirmed once Eri has calmed down, the idea that Midoriya has been telling modified versions of his personal life to A. I hope it's modified, Hisashi sighed, frowning at how much support the green-haired listener needed that he isn't getting. I can't imagine how he's coping with all of this. You have his mother's contact, right, Sho? Another sharp gasp was heard from Eri. Oh shit, what else? Ran through the three's thoughts. What's wrong? Hisashi had asked. This early morning, A tried to hold back a sniffle. This morning I saw Deku look really sad and he told me the boy's mom threw him away. Hitoshi cursed under his breath. Language, Toshi, Shouter instinctively reprimanded, but yeah, what you said. 2. It's still very early when Shouter walked to the entrance of the 1A dorms with Hitoshi trailing behind him. Shouter doesn't usually do this, but he needs to, especially after the talk and discovery the family made this morning. At the dorm's entrance, he saw the spiky blonde hair of 1A's resident explosive student looking tense but also worried. Shouter pushed back his thoughts of comparing Bakugo to a restless Pomeranian. Bakugo hasn't noticed him yet, so Shouter walked up to him and greeted him. Bakugo. Who the F? Katsuki was ready to growl and snap until he realizes who was calling him and immediately relaxed. Sensei. It's early, Shouter pointed out as he glanced at a nearby clock. A little more than 2 hours until school starts. You're here, Bakugo retorted. Too effing early to be here too, Sensei. I'm looking for problem child. Shouter got straight to his point. Stop effing calling him that, Bakugo snapped before Shouter heard him muttering to himself. Why can't teachers stop effing labeling the nerd that? Realizing that Aizawa-sensei is actually one of the only people who can help soothe his worries for Izuku, Katsuki conceded and continued. I need your help with Deku. Katsuki blurts out, Anua, the shitty nerd better be fine after all this. Something's effing wrong with the nerd. He's in his dorm room? Shouter inquired. No, the spiky blonde grumbled, skipped our jog session, didn't want to talk, and just effing told me he had to get to class while running away. This early? Hitoshi interrupts the conversation and alerts Bakugo of his presence. F off, Katsuki hissed as he lectured the purple-haired jackass. Deku effing hates loud and crowded places, like how it is when all the idiots wake up, get ready, and sheet, so he goes to the classroom because it's effing peaceful and quiet. So, shut the F up, mind fucker, because it's too effing early for your ritual of shitting on Deku like you always effing do. Before Hitoshi could retort back a reply, Shouter intercepted with a "Go back to your dorm room and get ready, Hitoshi, I'll go to my pro dash." When he saw Bakugo's glare, he coughed, "Midoriya. I'll check up on him." The explosive blonde simply tched and stomps back into the dorms angrily, leaving the father-son duo dumbfounded at the entrance. Shouter glanced at his son, who is currently muddled in his own thoughts and guilt. Probably, and patted him reassuringly. "You have things to think about, don't you, Toshi?" "Yeah," his son sighed, "all this time, I've been—" He shook his head and stared at Shouter. "You're right. I need time and space to think about all this." "Good idea," Shouter nodded. "Let me take care of my Midoriya, okay? We'll settle your thoughts on this later." "Yeah," Hitoshi whispered back as the two parted ways. "Oh, Toshi." "Yeah, Dad?" "Tell your classmates that the first 2 class periods are in-dorm practice and study instead. The classroom is off-limits. Now, time to take care of Shouter's other kid. Stories do help." Izuku is just distracting himself by writing notes in the desolate silence that is the 1A classrooms. He has checked his phone camera, and as long as cheery enough, his slightly red and puffy eyes can be excused by saying how he didn't sleep enough. He'll just tell his classmates he got too focused on studying or something to avoid suspicion. His current task is to calm himself down for the next hour or so before the early students, like Kaken and Idakuan, enter the classroom. If all else fails, he'll just hide in one of the toilet stalls and tell people how he's not feeling well. Izuku expects some questions from his classmates, and Izuku fully expects Kaken to corner him and ask about what is actually wrong, but Izuku didn't expect Aizawa-sensei to be the first person to walk through the classroom doors when the tear-stricken hero student has just finished drying his tears after another failed attempt on calming himself down. Pia Midoriya, the phrase problem child almost left Shouter's lips before he mentally smacked himself. Aizawa Shouter, the teacher reprimanded himself. Problem child may seem like an endearment to you, Shouter, but imagine how many times people have used it on the kid to verbally abuse him. Here? Oh, sensei. Izuku sputters and drops the pen he's holding in panic. Sorry. Let me just dash. He bends down to pick up his pencil but knocks his head on the side of the table with a harsh bang when trying to look up. Sorry. He winced in pain, but he had to greet the older man nevertheless. Gee, good morning. Shouter notices how Izuku is still trying to stand up and pretend like banging your head that hard wasn't a concern. Call it confirmation bias, but many things make so much sense now in an alarmingly apprehensive way. Shouter realizes that what he used to think as simply the child's timid nature was actually the result of many, many years of neglect and abuse from his surroundings. His kid, the student he holds closest to his heart, even closer than Hitoshi, at many times, has lost so much trust in any semblance of an authority figure and has probably given up on the idea that anyone is willing to support him at all. Sit down, okay? Shouter started, delicately trying to sound as soothing and non-threatening as he can ever manage. Izuku immediately sits down as fast as he could, an ingrained habit of simply obeying whatever they ask you to do to avoid more punishments. Sneaking a glance from his tilted down head, Izuku felt Aizawa-sensei's presence move as the dark-haired hero sat down on Bakugo's chair, the seat in front of Izuku's, and stayed quiet. Trembling, Izuku steeled himself to face whatever consequences his teacher would give him, because Izuku is always wrong and teachers are always right about their punishments for him. Realizing that his anxiety is slowly taking over his system again, he shook his head slightly and bit his lip. No, Izuku, he convinced himself. The person in front of him is not a teacher. Aizawa-sensei is Aizawa-sensei. He's different, Izuku. Not a teacher. Aizawa-sensei is a hero. Meanwhile, Shouter is taking in the gut-wrenching sight in front of him. No one is supposed to look so broken, and it hurts Shouter just to think about the pain and struggle Izuku had gone through. His kid's eyes are red and puffy with dark eye bags under them that couldn't simply be caused by skipping sleep for a single night. His kid is shaking slightly, and it took all of Shouter's willpower to not immediately try and comfort his distressed child, worried that he will flinch away and register Shouter's touch as danger. Izuku's hands are fully trembling as Shouter's observant eyes notice the patches of red and uneven skin around his nails. The child must have picked on it in an attempt to calm himself, and Izuku is picking on them again now. Worried that his poor kid might pick his fingers too hard and bleed, Shouter grabs Izuku's hands even if he notices how the boy flinched away from his touch. They're all the same. Izuku's anxious mind wailed. Can't trust him, can't trust anyone. Not anymore, and never will anymore. Midoriya! Shouter urged softly. Something about Aizawa-sensei's voice, something about his presence, grounds Izuku enough to form coherent words and not fully shut down nor dissociate, even if Izuku knows that he's in trouble and being a hassle again. Why hasn't Aizawa-sensei yelled at him yet? Why isn't Aizawa-sensei saying anything? What else? Aizawa-sensei is not giving him any instruction whatsoever, so what is Izuku supposed to do? What else should Izuku do to simply get this over with? I know I'm in trouble, the greenhead babbled. Maybe Aizawa-sensei is the type that wants him to admit it out loud? It was very foolish of me. Yes, I'm stupid that way, and dash. Midoriya Shouter tries to interject. I know that I'm very difficult to deal with, and Izuku's eyes widen even more when he realizes, it's my stories to I isn't it? Yes, kid, but I'm so sorry. Izuku blabbered as he swallowed down one of the sobs that tried to leave his throat. I'll accept any punishments from this. I shouldn't have done that, and I promise I will fix this Mido I won't even get near A at all, a sob escaped. The frazzled young boy as he whimpered weakly, just don't expel me. Don't throw me away. Please. Shouter once told Zashi that he doesn't believe in the existence of the so-called Deadzawa Protec alarms. However, Zashi was right, such a thing exists because Shouter hears them blazing off in his head. Sheet, Shouter thought. His kid is one of the, if not, the most top-performing students in the class, the hero class that has probably faced the most villain attacks in UA history and, thus, has the most rigorous program UA has ever had in years, and the top default candidate for UA's next big three is still worried about expulsion? Shouter is more and more convinced that this is more than mild anxiety. His plan to propose mandatory therapy sessions to Nedzu was delayed due to the Shai Hasaikai case and Ari's arrival, but Shouter knows that the change must be done as soon as possible if he wants to see his kid recover. Mido Izuku, Shouter tried again, look at me, please. He has to hold back a wince when he sees so much fear in Izuku's eyes as the boy tries to look away again. Hey, look at me, the older soothed as he stared straight into Izuku's eyes. I'm not mad, okay? You've done nothing wrong, you hear me? I'm here to be with you, not against you. When Izuku obeyed and looked at the teacher, no, Aizawa-sensei, in the eyes, he was expecting some kind of angry sneer that he associates with anyone who has the burden of teaching him. Aizawa-sensei simply looks at him with genuine concern, and he feels Aizawa-sensei's thumb rubbing his palm in comforting, circular motions, providing enough comfort while not breaching too much into his personal space. Different, see? The quiet voice of Izuku's sanity whispered, now audible and not muffled by the screeching storm of panicked voices. Aizawa-sensei is not the same as others, even if he's a sensei, he's not a teacher. He's not like a teacher at all, so it's safe, and safe. The last time such care and worry was directed to him, Izuku's vicious mind wandered again, was from his mom, or at least thought his mom, former mother. Oh, Zuku. Shouter can pinpoint precisely when Izuku's anxiety breaks the boy's slightly calmed down self. It was all instinct the moment he sees his kid break down in front of him and hears a pained sob from the fragile child. Raising a hand to caress Izuku's cheek, he wiped away some tears that slipped through what's probably Izuku's attempt to not cry. Shouter stands up and kneels slightly to Izuku's side, so there's no table separating the two, as he asks, I'm gonna get close and hug you, okay? Yes, Izuku sniffled, letting slip a quiet please. in the end. The older man pulls Izuku into a soothing hug as the two sink to the floor in a tight, comforting embrace. Izuku bit his lip hard to make sure he keeps his tears at bay, but Aizawa-sensei's soft caresses on his messy hair and the soothing circles on his back make it way more difficult than it already is. Izuku's mind is torn into two warring parts. One part utterly refuses to allow Aizawa-sensei to deal with any more problematic mess that is Izuku himself, while the other part is wailing and crying out for touches, for affection, for love that Izuku has craved for God knows how long. One part wants to believe and trust the Erasure hero, who has never once broken said trust, but another part irrationally just doesn't want to get hurt again in such close succession. "Izuku, you hear me?" Shouter murmured to the boy, who is still quiet the whole time. Shouter shifts backward to lean against the nearby wall while lightly running his hands on the boy's scalp. The process of trusting someone again after what Izuku has experienced is slow and arduous, but Shouter is holding on to the sliver of hope that Izuku trusts him enough to allow Shouter to help him. He receives a nod, albeit small, and Shouter's heart aches for the nth time of the day because his kid felt so small and hurt, and Shouter hates the fact that he can't do anything to take it all away. "That's good," Shouter cooed. "I've told others to stay in dorms for the next 2 years, okay? It's just you and me, no one else." The gears in Shouter's mind pulled him back to a memory of his early experience of knowing Eri, who had a severe case of emotional repression. "So, let it out, okay? I'll listen. It's bad to bottle it all up, you hear me? I'm here." That's what they all say," came a choked whimper. "They said they'll be here. But they lied, and they all left." Shouter breaks the hug slightly and looks at Izuku in the eyes. Oh, his poor kid was never allowed to be openly honest and vulnerable. The person in his embrace is no longer simply the promising, sunshine-bright hero student Deku. Instead, it's a woeful display of a small, broken child who never fully knew safety nor comfort nor first-hand knowledge in anything resembling a normal childhood at all. It threw Shouter's rationality far out the window as his entire being is focused on Izuku, his star student, his problem child, his kid, his very own child that needs parental love, and Shouter is more than willing to give it. "Maybe they do, but I won't and never, ever will." Onyx eyes piercing deep into Viridian. "The rest of the world and its people can leave and turn their backs, but I'll stay and listen and believe in you no matter what. You'll change your mind later on, like how they all did," the child lamented. "I always mess things up, and you'll get tired of putting up with me." "Oh, Bunizuku," a pet name almost left Shouter's lips, but he reassessed himself and quickly continues his initial thoughts with a tenacity that he himself is surprised with. "There is nothing you can do that will ever change the fact that I am with you, okay? Nothing at all." "But why would you?" Shouter heard the boy breathe out as Izuku fails to hold back a single tear from escaping. "No one has ever stayed, so why would anyone else?" "Because you are you, Izuku," Shouter answers in complete honesty because he doesn't know if his kid would believe him if he says it any other time. "You are precious, and you deserve love, and care, and support. You deserve to be heard and be comforted. You deserve to be encouraged when you feel down instead of bottling up your feelings due to fear. You're my problem child, my child, and when people hurt you, push you down, and tear apart your dreams," he took a deep breath before concluding, "you deserve people who regardless of what happens will stand by you, believe in you, and bring you back up, because I know that you are worth fighting for, Izuku." He pulled the child back into a tight hug as the floodgates opened and Izuku breaks, and breaks. Sensei. Izuku's body shook with each sob. "It hurts." "It does." Aizawa continues to rub soothing circles on the boy's back, "and it's okay to hurt. It hurts so much, sensei. I can't dash. It's okay, kid. Let it all out, okay? But it never hurt this much and never this way. Because you keep it down for so long, and it's painful," Shouter soothed. "I'll stay with you through it, so take your time, kid. Cry it out, say things, hex summon your inner Bakugu and curse at the world if that's what you feel like doing. You won't like the things I say," Izuku sob-chuckled. "And I'll tell you when I don't, but it won't make me leave you or believe in you any less." The two of them stayed that way for a long time, Shouter leaning to the classroom wall with Izuku in his arms as sobs racked through the boy's body. All the shaking and hitched breaths made Izuku seem so small, so fragile, and so hurt it felt like seeing Eri when they handled her nightmares, but much, much worse. And the words spilling out of the boy's mouth didn't help, as it made it clear that he never lied to Eri. His kid's life has been this messed up, and the clues were right under their noses this whole time. The first time I told my story to Eri, Izuku had told him in a fit of sobs, I was awake because of a horrible nightmare, and I saw myself in Eri. Izuku hiccuped and took a breath before continuing. I didn't fit, and it made me so lonely. Everyone, sensei, they either treat me as a person they can harass and get away with, or they simply turn a blind eye and pretend I don't exist. It wasn't until All Might, and UA, and the quirk Dash. About that, kid. We need to have a conversation about you and All Might, Shouter pointed out. Maybe not today, but come to me when you feel comfortable enough, okay? Then I'll tell you now. Izuku took a deep breath before glancing around. If only the classroom was safe enough to disclose high-level secrets. It is, actually. In no way, Aizawa-sensei. It's a special addition to the 1A classrooms only, Shouter sighed, because we're a regular villain target. Probably because of me, Izuku mumbled. He took a deep breath and opened up for the second time today, this time telling everything to Aizawa-sensei. For the first time since he was 5, Izuku allowed himself to be open and honest. Izuku tells the older man how he was quirkless until the age of he tells Aizawa-sensei how he's scared, how his younger self learnt the hard way that repressing feelings is the safest route from the cruelties of life, how he once tried to share his feelings only to be scolded and dismissed again and again. He tells how he obtained a quirk from the same hero that brought so much despair and hope in one same day. He told you what? Shouter hissed as he tightened his embrace. On top of a effing roof, kid. But, like I said, Izuku tried to weakly protest. Later on, after I meddled with Kaken and that villain, All Might Sensei told me Dash. You were saving Bakugo, Shouter sighed in disbelief. And All Might didn't ask a single medic around to check up on you, who just jumped at a villain. Izuku, you were a hero even before UA. They probably thought I was in their way. I'm not really. Hero looking, Sensei, came the sheepish reply. It wasn't only All Might, anyway. Other heroes too, like Sir Night Eye. The underground hero listened to Izuku tearing up every once in a while about how it's normal to think that he's not hero material. Shouter isn't the type to envy other people's quirks, however, a quirk that lets him punch ghosts, dead spirits, or whatever would be amazing to have right now. What the F was Night Eye thinking? Please tell me you had quirk therapy, Shouter said when the thought crossed his mind. What? Never mind, he cursed under his breath before diverting the younger's attention. What happened next? Izuku was trembling slightly when he recounted his life before UA. Everyone simply ignored him for his quirklessons. His classmates up to middle school would use him as a lab rabbit for their quirks, and teachers won't care. Bakugo told you to do what? Shouter growled, pupils turning red as his quirk activated for a couple seconds. It was peer pressure, sensei. Izuku hurriedly added, They let children with good quirks do as they please, and Kaken was never properly taught proper social cues. I didn't either. He paused and let out a wistful smile. Kaken didn't see anything wrong with saying what the adults whispered about me straight to my face. When he realized his mistake, he was already in UA, and he thought it was too late. It's still suicide baiting, kid. He needs anger management lessons. Kaken was going to talk to you about that, actually, but I told him to wait after the Hasaikai case and maybe after I was brave enough to talk to you. Izuku trails off. He's probably the only one who still believes I can be a hero, because Dash. If Izuku was glass that has been broken into shards, he completely crumbled to dust when he whimpered about how his mother, who he thought is always with him and so supportive, completely distanced herself from him and has completely disappeared from his life, abandoning him at such a young age with the knowledge that his former mother's affection was merely a facade. Since when? I didn't really, Izuku stuttered. She stopped coming home around the sports festival, but she left money and essential stuff. I submitted the UA dorms form using this stamp of her signature, you see. This time, Izuku couldn't finish his story, as he was utterly sobbing when he talks about tries to tell Aizawa-sensei about the contents of the email he received last night. Izuku wants to tell Aizawa-sensei, but the words that he tried to utter left his lips in the form of incoherent whimpers. So, Izuku took out his phone, gave it to his teacher to read after a couple flicks on the screen, and continued to cry into the arms of the adult who he could let himself trust. Shouter had to reread certain parts of said email as he often gets lost in his anger towards the woman, and society in general. Focusing on quelling the flames of fury that stir within him, Shouter proceeded to counter each self-deprecating comment the greenhead made with what the boy is supposed to hear all this time. And maybe I shouldn't have been here, sensei. You belong here, Izuku. You're meant to be here, kid. She's right. Maybe I was never meant to be a dash. You are a hero, Izuku. You already are. Even before your actions for before you reached out to Ida when Stain happened, even before you stood in front of Uraraka against the Zero-Pointer or in front of Bakugu against the slime villain. You have been a hero this whole time. I'm just a Deku, sensei. I'm the one who cannot. I'm the useless waste of space dash. Your Deku means Dekiru. You are the one who can. The precious, strong, and brave child who shines bright and inspires everyone around you. When Shouter finally finished reading the entire email, he noticed that the green-haired boy has cried himself to sleep, which makes sense considering Izuku probably didn't sleep last night, while he is about to go into a fit of rage. He needs to talk about many things with Nezu and Tazashi, too, later today. Shouter packs up his kids' belongings, places them on top of the boy's sleeping figure, and carries Izuku in his arms out of the classroom. The rest of the world be damned, his problem child's safety and happiness holds the most importance now. Oh make. Dear my hero, Sorry you're probably surprised. Hello, we meet at last, I guess? Thank you, my little hero, for being there and listening to me when I tell stories to you. Thank you, for telling and reminding me that the boy isn't worthless, and for believing that I can be a hero. You are my hero, too, You told me that people were wrong when I'm too scared to say it, and I'm glad that you're my friend. From now, let's be heroes for each other, okay? I'll be your hero and you'll be mine. The hero boy, Deku. P.S. You're right. Your papa and dad are not mean even. When they're adults. I would love to share parents with you. The letter is kept in the same box where Eri keeps all her stuff for Deku, the boy. Placing her hero box next to a pile of papers about serious adult stuff, she knows what adopt means, but what does license and protocol mean? She happily skipped towards the living room sofa. There sat Izuku, wearing a tank top and scarred arms, exposed his box of temporary tattoo marking pens placed next to Eri's box of skin-safe glitter pens and stickers. You ready? He chuckles when he sees the little girl vibrating with excitement. Eri replied with eyes sparkling brighter than the green-colored glitter pen that she's currently holding. Yeah. Finn.